Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we will know the history of Egypt. Before starting, support the channel by liking this video and subscribing to this channel for future updates. The rich history of ancient Egypt involves power struggle, amazing feats of engineering, advances in writing and art, and more. Ancient Egypt in North Africa was one of the most powerful and influential civilizations in the region for over 3,000 years, from around 3100 BC to 30 BC. It left behind numerous monuments, documents, and works of art that continue to be studied by scholars today. However, Egyptian civilization existed long before this period, and it has survived and flourished since. While the civilization's rulers, language, writing, climate, religion and borders have changed many times over the millennia, Egypt still exists as a modern-day country. Ancient Egypt was closely connected with other parts of the world, bringing in and exporting goods, religions, food, people and ideas. At times ancient Egypt ruled territory outside the modern-day country's border, controlling territory in what is now Sudan, Cyprus, Lebanon, Syria, Israel and Palestine. The country was also occupied by other powers in ancient times. The Persians, Nubians, Greeks, and Romans all conquered Egypt at different points. A number of names were used for Egypt. A popular ancient name for Egypt was Kemet, which means the Black Land. Scholars generally believe that this name derived from the fertile soil that was left over when the Nile flood receded in August. The Nile flooded between June and August each year, and the fertile soil it created was vital to ancient Egypt's survival, with fertility playing an important role in Egyptian religion. The burial of Tutankhamun, in which his penis was mummified, is but one example of how important fertility was in the rituals and beliefs of the ancient Egyptians. The country's ancient rulers are referred to today as pharaohs, although in ancient times they each used a series of names as part of a royal titular, wrote Ronald Leprechaun, an Egyptology professor at the University of Toronto, in his book, The Great Name, Ancient Egyptian Royal Titulary, opens a new tab. The word pharaoh originates from the Egyptian term, Pere, which means, the Great House, Leprechaun wrote. The term was first incorporated into a royal title during the rule of Thutmose III, Leprechaun wrote. When exactly early hominids first arrived in Egypt is unclear. The earliest migration of hominids out of Africa took place almost 2 million years ago, with modern humans dispersing out of Africa about 100,000 years ago. Egypt may have been used to reach Asia in some of these migrations. Villages dependent on agriculture began to appear in Egypt about 7,000 years ago. The civilization's earliest written inscriptions date back about 5,200 years and reveal information about the early rulers of Egypt, Live Science previously reported. These early rulers include 𝙼𝙬𝙪, who, according to the inscriptions, founded Memphis, a city that served as Egypt's capital for much of its history. The inscriptions also document a queen named Neithotep, who ruled as a regent for a young pharaoh named 𝙤𝙬𝙪. Sometime in the late pre-dynastic period. How and when ancient Egypt was united into one kingdom is a matter of debate among archaeologists and historians. One possibility is that a number of smaller states coalesced into two kingdoms, Upper and Lower Egypt, and then these two kingdoms united. After Egypt was united, pharaohs were often depicted wearing two crowns, one for Lower Egypt and another for Upper Egypt. Egypt's climate was much wetter in prehistoric times than it is today, and some areas that are now barren desert were once fertile. One famous archaeological site where this can be seen is at the Cave of Swimmers, as it is called today, on the Gilf Kebir Plateau in southwest Egypt. The cave is now surrounded by miles of barren desert, however, it has rock art showing what some scholars interpret as people swimming. The exact date of the rock art is unclear, although scholars think that it was created in prehistoric times. Ancient Egypt's history has traditionally been divided into 30, or sometimes 31, dynasties. This tradition started with the Egyptian priest Menno, who lived during the 3rd century BC. His accounts of ancient Egyptian history were preserved by ancient Greek writers and, until hieroglyphic writing was deciphered in the 19th century, were among the few historical accounts that scholars could read. Advertisement. Modern-day scholars often group these dynasties into several periods. Dynasties 1 and 2 date back around 5,000 years and are often called the early dynastic or archaic period. The first pharaoh of the first dynasty was a ruler named Menes, or Narmer, as he is called in Greek. He lived over 5,000 years ago, and while ancient writers sometimes credited him as being the first pharaoh of a united Egypt, however archaeological research suggests that this is not true. Recently found inscriptions tell of rulers, such as 𝙤𝙬 and 𝙼𝙬𝙤𝙪, who appear to have ruled earlier, and other finds have been made which suggest that there were pharaohs before Menes who ruled a united Egypt, Live Science previously reported. Scholars sometimes refer to these pre-Menes rulers as being part of a dynasty 0. Dynasties 3 to 6 date from roughly 2650 to 2150 BC, and are often grouped together into a time period called the Old Kingdom by modern-day scholars. During this time, pyramid building techniques were developed and the pyramids of Giza were built. Papyri that are still being deciphered suggest that groups of professional workers, sometimes translated as work gangs, played a major role in the construction of the pyramids, as well as other structures. From 2150 to 2030 BC, a time period that encompassed dynasties 7 to 10 and part of 11, the central government in Egypt was weak and the country was often controlled by different regional leaders. Why the Old Kingdom collapsed is a matter of debate among scholars, with research indicating that drought and climate change played a significant role. During this time, cities and civilizations in the Middle East also collapsed, with evidence at archaeological sites indicating that a period of drought and arid climate hit sites across the region. The 12th, 13th, and part of the 11th dynasties are often called the Middle Kingdom by scholars and lasted from around 2030 to 1640 BC. At the start of this dynasty, a ruler named Mentuhotep II, who reigned until about 2000 BC, regained control of the whole country. Pyramid building resumed in Egypt, and a sizable number of texts of literature and science were created. Among the surviving texts is a document now known as the Edwin Smith Surgical Papyrus, which records a variety of medical treatments that modern-day medical doctors have hailed as being advanced for their time. Dynasties 14 to 17 are often grouped together as the Second Intermediate Period by modern-day scholars. During this time, the central government again collapsed in Egypt, and a group called the Hyksos rose to power, controlling much of northern Egypt. While the Hyksos may have originally been from the Levant, an area that encompasses modern-day Israel, Palestine, Lebanon, Jordan and Syria, research indicates that they were already in Egypt at the time the government collapsed. One gruesome find from this time period is a series of severed hands, which were found at a palace at the city of Avaris, the capital of Hyksos-controlled Egypt. The severed hands may have been presented by soldiers to a ruler in exchange for gold. Advertisement. Scholars often refer to dynasties 18 to 20 as encompassing the New Kingdom, a period that lasted around 1550 to 1070 BC. This period took place after the Hyksos had been defeated by a series of Egyptian rulers and the country reunited. Perhaps the most famous archaeological site from the New Kingdom is the Valley of the Kings, which holds the burial sites of many Egyptian rulers from this period, including Tutankhamun, reigned circa 1336 to 1327 BC, whose rich tomb was found intact in 1922. The pharaohs stopped building pyramids during the New Kingdom for a variety of reasons, one of which was to provide better security against tomb robbers. The 21st to 24th dynasties, a period from around 1070 to 713 BC, are often called the Third Intermediate Period by modern-day scholars. The central government was sometimes weak during this time period, and the country was not always united. During this time, cities and civilizations across the Middle East had been destroyed by people from the Aegean, whom modern-day scholars sometimes call the Sea Peoples. While Egyptian rulers claimed to have defeated the Sea Peoples in battle, it didn't prevent Egyptian civilization from collapsing. The loss of trade routes and revenue may have played a role in the weakening of Egypt's central government. Thanks for watching this video. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe.